our treatment plant for a 100 meg internet connection. So we actually have fiber over to one of our towers. And then from our towers, we actually have a fixed wireless solution, which is a microwave shot over to the wastewater treatment plant. And then from there, we actually have a wireless solution that's going to connect all of the buildings that are nearby, the animal control, the landfill office, and it's going to be another office right next to the wastewater treatment plant. All of this is all on a redundant network, so essentially what that means, internet goes down, we actually will have two data centers, one in Reno and one in Utah. So if for whatever reason one of our data centers goes down or the network goes down, we'll go ahead and route it to the other one. So you'll have full redundancy, it's all symmetrical speeds, it's an enterprise level type of solution, which essentially means that we're providing you essentially SLA service level agreements for your internet connectivity. So if you have any issues, essentially you will notify us. We have a 4-hour time period to respond, and we have a 4-hour time period to essentially get your services reconnected, up and running. You guys have any questions for me?
Yeah, I got a question. There was some discussion, we attended a broadband presentation. As we're trying to expand our internet and everything through the city, excuse me, I'm wondering anyway, what kind of additional cost would it be to run fiber out there toward the landfill, wastewater treatment, because that'd be a next step to going out to cross timbers. There's quite a group of people out there. The prison's just out that way. I don't know what the additional cost is, but we've got this funding out there available.
Exactly, and I did receive that question, so I did ask my team. These are budgetary numbers, but just to give you a general idea, just to run fiber over to the wastewater treatment plant, you're looking about $75,000, and an additional $25,000 just to extend it to those additional building or businesses that are out there. It's one-time cost. That's what it's going to cost just to get fiber out there. Now, there will be additional monthly recurring charges that will apply to each location that decides to sign up for services.
Okay, the next question I have, I know when this agenda was put together, it mentioned $162,000. And the thing we have got on desk now, is this the same company?
Yes.
Okay, and it's up to $282,000. So this agenda item, this moment right now, the way it is, or?
The proposal is for $161,955, and that is for essentially the original proposal that was requested, 250 megs at City Hall and 100 megs at the other two locations with fixed wireless solution, installation labor, pretty much all of that based on a 5-year term. The 281 that you're referring to, that is going to be based on a request for additional bandwidth. So this is fully designed as future-proof, so if you guys at any point decide to upgrade your services, let's say you need a 500 meg internet connection over at City Hall, it's scalable. So we can go ahead and upgrade you to 500 and then 250 at the other two locations. And that's what the 282 is really referring to, is for more bandwidth, but you guys really have the option. If you guys want to go with 100, it's already way beyond than what you guys currently have right now. You guys currently have a DSL internet connection, so it's going to be like 100 times better than what you guys have right now. But that is, it's completely up to you guys on what you guys decide to do. But you guys do have those two options. And at the same time, it is scalable up to 10 gigs for City Hall and at the fire department, and up to 700 megs over at the wastewater treatment plant. So just going back to having the availability to run fiber over to the other locations, we can, but it's really up to you guys if you guys want to do that now. This solution will essentially, it's a solid solution for the next 5 to 7 years. Fiber, I don't see that going anywhere, so I think 10 plus years, I don't think you're going to have any issues.
So this $282,000, that does not have fiber going to the landfill?
It does not. This will just be greater bandwidth.
And we're guaranteed the 100 megs of
Yeah.
service.
Exactly, yeah, it's also symmetrical speeds. There's always gonna be a bit of a overhead, but you're looking about maybe in the high 80s, 90s, but even, I think we just did some testing on, one of the schools, and they were on a fully loaded network, and, they had a 100 meg internet connection, and they were getting about 87, I believe, as the upload speed and 80 as the download speed, and that was everyone on school, being connected to the network. So it's all symmetrical. Like I said, it's at enterprise level SLA. So essentially, is it guaranteed? It's going to be guaranteed to the modem. There's always a bit of variables whenever you're connected to Wi-Fi, but it's going to be essentially a solid solution for connecting multiple devices. That you want to be able to stream, like for instance, here, if you want to be able to do your Zoom call, and you want to have hundreds of people connected, you're not going to have any issues.
Okay. My only thought on this is, we're gonna have a one-time shot at this money. We better go for the gusto. So we need to update this or to get the fiber. I'm a firm believer, my opinion, we need to have fiber, as much as we got the fiber. He says it's probably right in 10 years, nothing. 10 years, a lot of it's not gonna be here. We let the citizens down. When we have an opportunity, using federal funding to pay for fiber to expand outside the city, maybe make warehousing, other type of power plants, who knows what. If we drop the ball just because we don't want to spend another $100,000 or whatever, in my opinion, I think we really need to look at that again. That's my thought on that. And I should disclose, once again, I'll remember the volunteer fire department. So my decision in voting on abstaining, I don't know how I do this, because I'm doing it for the best of the city. The fire department's involved, and so is the volunteer fire department. So I'm just telling you how I feel on the whole wireless.
Going with this plan.
Mayor Robertson, I just had a quick
Sure.
statement. So when Wilson provided that estimate from their engineers, he indicated the permitting process takes quite a while. As we can see from that open house I attended last night on the transmission line, several years. So my recommendation is to approve the proposal on the table tonight with the requirement that the permitting applications be started to install fiber out to the landfill. That way we're up, because as from the pictures that Public Works Supervisor and our water operator provided today, we have no internet out of the wastewater treatment plant. So our SCADA is not operational out there, and our lab computer that they're trying to communicate with NDEP is not operational. It's fairly serious. So we really need to address this now in some way.
So going with this doesn't preclude us from laying a fiber line. Let's say with we decide, or the infrastructure funding comes through and there's some money to do that, we can make our money go further. Going with this doesn't preclude us from laying a fiber line out there later if we decide to do that.
To the wastewater treatment plant, no, that would be completely separate.
The other question I have is, how many fiber antennas are you mounting on our buildings?
It's all, I mean, for the most part, it's fiber.
Is it?
Yeah, so you're looking at a
So
tower.
there doesn't have to be an antenna in City Hall or the fire department.
We do have a small piece of device that we're going to install in here. It's a very small device, and that would just be for being able to provide the connectivity to this location itself. But you're not looking at any like satellites. You're thinking about maybe like a dish or a TV type of satellites that they're just out there, outside of the houses. It's nothing like that. It's very small devices. And if anything, those are going to be applied over at the wastewater treatment plant. But it's small devices. It's nowhere compared to those large devices that they install.
All right.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I have a question. I agree with Jim wholeheartedly with where we have the opportunity, but unless the things have changed, even though this is federal funding, and I was on the council before, we could not commit beyond our terms of office without having a public hearing. A 60-month commitment is a contract or an agreement that extends beyond our term. What's the rule on that today? Without a public hearing on, because with that, the money on this ARP money just disappears has to be spent by December 31st, 2024. This commitment goes far beyond that.
This, it can be paid up front. So essentially, if it's paid up front, then we'll cover you for the next 5 years, so.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Under the contract, I think it provides some pay up front.
Okay, okay. The COVID money, the ARP money says it has to be committed to. There's a clause in that, the commitment, so that would work.
Right.
All right, that makes me happy.
Any other questions? I don't think we have any other questions on that, thank you. The other item, we do have Melvin from BCT who's on a Zoom call regarding if there are any questions on the phone system. And the phone system will be running off the internet connection, so they're kind of hand-in-hand type issues.
Okay.
Are there any questions for that? Okay, if there are no more questions on any of these items, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I have to make disclose and abstain for the Zoll auto pulse system for the fire department.
So noted. I'll entertain a motion, certainly.
We're gonna move on the 260 plus the 100 or up. What are we gonna move on? Which program?
Item 60?
280, yes.
Oh,
How about that?
you guys wanted the higher speeds?
Well, I think,
Like
Jim
Jim
said-
said, for Jennifer, we want to go to 281.
No, I think that was, the 281 is the higher speed, it had nothing to do with this number, the 281 had nothing to do with the line going up to the plant.
Correct. The reason that was requested is City Hall will be the hub that connects all of the buildings. So that was part of the reason for that. As Wilson stated, we can also always upgrade later with no penalty, correct, Wilson?
But my understanding was the only upgrade was the speed of the connection. We went from 100 megs to 250, is that?
Correct.
am I-
Correct.
And you guys went to 250?
No, I might have misstated, and it is at 250 now, at the 161,
Okay.
and at 500 megs for the 281. And so that's even a higher speed.
Do we need that high of speed?
Well, we can always start with what they
Why do you say
propose.
we do, Jeanette?
I think why not? If we are going to be shipping it from City Hall out to all these other places, especially out to that wastewater treatment plant, why wouldn't we?
Because it's $100,000 and he says on this other plan that we can have as many people on a Zoom call as we want and we're sending emails unless we're gaming. I don't see the difference on the speeds for $100,000. But it's 100 times more than what we have now. Is that, no?
Right, because the
Okay.
treatment plant has 0 now, so that's
Sure.
why.
I understand.
Keep coming back again and again, why not just go for what we can get, and that's what we can get.
Well, that's my feeling on it. I think it would be law of diminishing returns on that. I think the 250 megs that you're proposing here for 161 is more than enough to handle business and more.
Yeah,
Because I have 5 in my house,
uh-huh.
so, but it's the council's call on that. You have a recommendation from the treasurer and clerk, so.
Did you have a
Yeah.
motion made or?
May I make a comment?
Yes,
Everything is changing and swirling around us so fast. We're
Councilwoman
going-
Harper, can you hold it closer? Thank you.
Everything is swirling and changing around us so fast. It's going to be totally different next year when we're sitting here talking about some things. So if we have the opportunity and the money now, I think we should just go ahead and
is that a motion?
I'll make that motion, yes.
With I'd like her motion, and I'll second the motion, but I think we need to add, in this period of time, so we don't gotta do the permit, wait for the permit and get this going, but in the motion, we have fiber in the very near future, as soon as possible, permitting added out to our facilities at the landfill.
I think we'll have to have another agenda item for direction to start preparing those permits and things like that, or can they make that?
Oh, as well as the agreement, that's what action would be taken on, that exceeds the scope of.
So we'll get
Okay, all right, okay, I'll second it. Councilwoman
Okay,
Williams.
so there's that, and your motion also includes the phone system and the Zoll auto pulse?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and then second, from Councilman Allward. Put the abstention noted.
Yeah, you know, I like to make a comment.
Sure.
I sent a comment to the budget committee. You know, this money's out there, and we're struggling how we're gonna spend this allotment of money, next allotment of money. I'm totally serious. Maybe we should look at something at the hospital, put some of this money toward additional beds at the hospital. The county sent all theirs, who knows where, but I don't know if the hospital got any money, but maybe it's time. If we get down, push comes to shove, and we're pushing and shoving, trying to get this money spent, everybody in the community, county and city people, would benefit from extra beds at the hospital. Just a comment, has nothing to do with the motion by the councilwoman.
I think it's a fair point. So we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried and so ordered. It's 5:30, so we will back up to the item 6. The mayor will recess the regular city council meeting for a public hearing at 5:30 p.m. on the following topics. Item 1, Councilman Allworth. Discussion only, approval to install one or more of the following traffic signs at these locations. Stop sign at 8th Street and Avenue N, stop sign at 12th Street and Avenue K, and yield sign at 12th Street and Park Avenue. With that, we'll take comments from the council and anyone in the audience on this topic.
Good afternoon, council members, Mr. Mayor. Bill Miller for the record. I am very grateful that there's a traffic study done in this area. And I'm very grateful to see what we have before us as an agenda item, putting stop signs on Avenue K and 12th Street, as well as Park Street and 8th in this neighborhood up there. The only thing that I would like to see, possibly, and I came down there the other day, I go down there regularly, my cab support on my truck, and I'm sure it's happened to every one of us, blocked the view as I was coming to the intersection of 12th and L, and a vehicle was traveling from the north south. I was traveling west. And so we kind of stopped in the intersection and waited who was going to pass through the intersection. And it's a common occurrence at that intersection. One thing that I would like to see, possibly in addition to what's being proposed today on the agenda, would be a yield sign on Avenue L for east and westbound traffic.
L and 12.
L and 12, what did I say? L and 12 for east and westbound traffic. That way you're not having to stop sign every block, but at least you have something on Avenue L in between to kind of allow people to be aware of, to slow down and look at the intersection, because it is kind of the field of view at that is kind of limited. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing and seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and move on to item 7, discussion for possible action. Items pertaining to the public hearing. Item 1, Councilman Allworth, discussion for possible action. Approval to install one or more of the following traffic signs at these locations. Stop sign at 8th Street and Avenue N, stop sign at 12th Street and Avenue K, and yield sign at 12th Street and Park Avenue.
Mr. Mayor, I thank Bill Miller for his comment. I believe just a letter probably to the sheriff asking if he had a problem with Mr. Miller's request. Yield signs going east and west on 12th and Avenue L. Hopefully we don't gotta do this whole study again, but that'd be my recommendation. I make a motion to approve everything on there, with the possibility of the city clerk send the sheriff a letter asking for his ability with those two yield signs impede traffic or whatever.
I think so, I have to bring that back to the council, so, yeah, I think it's a good idea.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion from Councilman Allworth, second from Councilman Spear, with the noted letter to be sent to the Sheriff's Department about L and 12. L.
But one point of clarification, Ed brought it up, he's correct. If we get that yield sign, we'll have to bring that back to the council again. And sure, all right, thank you. Thanks, Ed.
Motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Carried so ordered. We'll move back to senior business. Item 6, council member city treasurer trash discussion for possible action Approve budget committee's recommendation to offer $10,000 grants from American Rescue Plan funds to businesses ordered closed by the state of Nevada due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which can demonstrate a 2020 revenue loss.
And when the committee met about this, I know we talked about if this was done, it approved, that we need to put together paperwork to kind of the guidelines of what they need to meet
Right.
for them to be eligible to do this. And it's basically for businesses that were, basically had to close during the COVID shutdown time and could show they had a loss.
So that would be they would have to meet both those criteria. They were ordered closed by the state, and they had a revenue loss between 2019 and 2020.
That's my understanding.
Yeah. And then this would, because we also had discussed some of the council's requests about how to possibly refund those grants, and without getting way out into the weeds, this seemed like the easiest way to offer that
Oh,
to
you mean the
people.
loans?
The loans, that's what I meant. So this way, if they had been closed and it was a COVID impact, they could apply for this, pay off their loan, even if they paid some, or if they didn't get that, but they had some other extenuating circumstances, then it was really targeted at the people who were most impacted by the COVID.
Yeah. And we do want to keep whatever form we do very basic and simple. I don't want to have to make them.
And like we did last time, where we give them their paperwork back, so we're not responsible for keeping them.
I have some, I'm totally in favor of this, because the ones I think got hit the hardest, without exception, would be the beauticians, the barbers, and the business owner himself. I think each one of them is a private business, indirectly maybe, but
Yeah,
there
they all
may be
hold
some that
their
are not.
business license.
How are we going to address those that may not be, but are renting small space in there, or?
Well, they each hold their own business license of those
Every
chairs.
single-
So to me, they are their own business. Now, the person that actually owns the building probably took a bigger loss because they're still paying possibly rent, the insurance, the utilities.
So we'll cover everyone, and that's what I want to make sure, boy.
It would, if you have a business license,
Yeah.
you could apply for this. If you were ordered closed by the state, and you could demonstrate through your financial statements that you suffered a loss in 2020 over what you brought in 2019.
Do we require them to post a financial statement or W-9?
We did for the loans, and the way we did that is they submitted it, and then we gave it back to them, so we weren't responsible for keeping their
Yeah.
info.
We
But
didn't,
we had to have
if they
something.
wanted it back, they can buy it, which several did.
Okay.
I agree with what we're trying to do here. The last four words, demonstrate 2020 revenue losses. We're making this way too complicated. I know the treasurer said a simple form. We'll just use those beauty salons for an example. They had to shut the door, they had, went and done, did they go do something else? Maybe they went and worked at McDonald's. It doesn't show what the loss they're making because their salon chair was shut down. Maybe they went and worked someplace else because they still gotta make a revenue. So their tax form's not gonna show a loss. I think it'd be simpler from the date this thing started till the date they were able to go back to work. And, I have no idea what they make, but, the business owners is correct. They gotta pay the rent, the landfill, and each one of these shareholders,
They took a loss of,
yeah, they did, but what are we gonna say? Let's say it's a 6-month loss and they were making $1,000 a month, but comes down to honest Indian, how much were you losing when you lost you couldn't open up no more?
No,
Well, okay.
some of those other ones, gosh, how did they do that with the counties?
Oh, see, the county, that's one of the problems I've heard is, you took the time to fill out that 18
I
page.
did, yeah.
Some other people says, no way, I'm not gonna do that.
Well, and the demonstration was pretty easy. You just had to demonstrate that you're, and now that I say it was really easy, I can't remember exactly what it was.
can I recommend that
Please.
if their business was closed,
You can apply.
you can apply. Make it that simple.
You just have to be one of
Because
the
to
people
me,
closed by the
if their
state.
business closed, they took a loss.
Sure.
But, you mentioned you'll have a guideline, so,
Well, we just changed it to, if we know it was a business type that had to close, like the beauticians, the barbers.
If you close just
The
because you wanted to
restaurants.
close, I don't think that meets the qualification. If the state said you will close your business,
Yeah,
then we've got that, we still have that list.
We have
These
the list of
businesses are
businesses
closed.
we know we're forced to close,
Yeah.
and if they want, I still think that they should come in and ask for it.
Oh.
I don't wanna be sitting here trying to pick who, gets it, but that would be pretty simple.
I agree with what you just said there. To prove something up, I think we're stepping our bounds. If they shut down because of, here it is, you're giving $10,000 to a business, no questions asked, So these chair holders, we wanna call them that, they lost their chair service for 8 months, whatever, you're out of business. We're gonna give you $1,500, $2,500 like that. End of it, they flat say, I was out of business from this date, this is what the city can offer. To have them prove a whole bunch of stuff, I think we're digging a little bit too deep, because some of them, we all know. Some people get a check, they're on a credit card, some people pay in cash. You know why they pay in cash? You know why they pay in cash. They don't report it, so I think we've gotta make it really simple, you come in, like she said, this date to this date, here's a signed paper, you swear on it, have a notary stamp, whatever they want. I was out of business, and then the budget committee says, okay, we're gonna come back, those there, across the board, just like the county did, 20,000, 20,000. All those people just got, boom, that quick, $20,000, So that's my thought.
So
Good idea.
if we worded it, you can apply for up to 10,000, and I don't know why you wouldn't apply for 10, that's what we're offering.
I would say my.
But if you were closed by order of the state for any time during 2020, then
Yeah, I like that.
that meet that, Councilwoman Williams, sorry.
I also like that also, but I just want to make sure. So Jim, am I understanding that they will get $10,000 or that at some point someone's going to have to decide how much they get up to 10,000?
On the form, they would ask, I want 5, I want 10.
So
You can apply for up to 10, I don't
So
know
I
why
was
you would
a-
apply for 10.
I was a nail tech, I was a person that was closed by the city, I'm asking you for $10,000. Am I going to get it if I fill out the form?
Yes,
I'm going to get 10.
you
So
were
that
closed
means-
during 2020.
So everyone will get 10.
If you
If
come
they ask
before.
for it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's.
Again,
So
that,
no one is making
I think
that
that's fair.
decision.
The application would come to the budget committee just to make sure it's filled out.
Yeah.
That they were like, hey, I'm a gas station, I was closed, well, you weren't closed, we know you weren't
Right.
closed.
Well, that helps you, but I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that there's not a committee needed to decide, well, I think you should only get 3,250.
No.
I think if they meet the qualification, they get their ask up to 10.
Here you go.
All right.
cool.
I'll entertain a motion on this.
I'll move
to approve. Motion from Councilman Carson, do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilwoman Williams Harper. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried and so ordered. Item 7, council members, city treasurer Trask. Discussion for possible action, approve budget committee's recommendation to add the following possible expenditures to the City of Ely Rescue Plan priorities list. Build out of the city cemetery, water sewer infrastructure projects, and parks outdoor maintenance projects with direction to engineering staff to prepare cost estimates.
I move to approve that. Like, I want to build out of that cemetery, but that would.
So the next, if this is approved by the council, the next step would be the staff would work up the recommendation and cost, it would go through the budget committee and come back before the council for, yeah, that's how we want to proceed, or no, that's not. But these weren't quite in the priority list, and we wanted to make sure the council, they had the council's approval on proceeding that.
And I can report that I do have Hinton verdicts offered, and I'm gonna take it before the budget committee when they get back to me about a date to meet. They sent some pricing and said that they would help us with making sure we were,
All right.
yes, we were getting it
And
ready.
it's compliant with the U.S. trade rules. I seen that, probably out there, this is my way online, but I read a report that the treasurer may pull back some of the stimulus money because a lot of it's not being spent out there, so they could be cutting this off before we know it's being cut off. If you're saying we've got 2.6 now, we need to use it now because what I just read, and it was over the weekend, so there's a possibility that they're going to reduce the amount that was total. So I don't think it reduced our 5.4. I don't know that.
Well, we bought 2.6 million already in the bank, so let's get that spent.
Three probably agenda items here, do I have a motion for this?
Mr. Mayor, I have a comment.
Yes.
If BJ could come to the podium and help, I would comment here. And I got a question also for the treasurer. I'll ask the treasurer a question first. So all this money is prepare estimate cost, that's the cost. The engineering and all that, will those, BJ's business, will that a separate payment for him to engineer all this stuff? I mean, he's gonna design it.
Good question.
Okay, because, this, I mean, it's over and above his
Yes,
normal.
normal. I would say yes,